We'll all rise, we'll do a little pledge and then a moment of silence. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I like the way they let the chairman start the pledge, just to see if he still remembers or has he forgotten, and because he's getting too mature. And
I just do that out of respect. You're leading this.
Oh,
You're leading this show.
Yeah.
If you'd like, I'd start it.
No, that's all right.
All right, then.
It's a great feeling. I still remember how to start it.
April, today's the 17th.
Yes, Joe. Okay, moment of silence, please. Thank you for the moment of silence. Next on the agenda is the roll call. All three commissioners are here. We're all in our places with bright, shiny faces. Next is public comment. Anybody have any public comment? Well, that was very fast hand going up. Thank you.
Lindsay Blancarty, 22800 Wood End Road in Tonganoxie. I have two questions. My first question is, I would like to know who is doing work on Wood End Road between 222nd Street and Chieftain Road when there are $0 shown on the budget for Wood End Road.
Okay. That was Linda?
Lindsay.
Lindy.
Lindsay. L-I-N-D-S-E-Y.
Okay.
Blancarty, B-L-A-N-C-A-R-T-E.
Okay. I look at it, and they may look at it different directions because they may have all knowledge. I don't. It says public comments. That's where we accept your comments.
Right.
We turn it over to that gentleman right there.
I understand.
And if he doesn't get back to you by the end of the day, then we can take care of his problem next Tuesday. But I'm sure he'll be back with you by the end of the day.
I understand. I've been watching. So.
Okay, appreciate that.
My second.
So I don't know if they want to answer it.
Well, I was just wondering, have you contacted the Road and Bridge Department to see
I've
anything?
asked all kinds of people. I've contacted, yeah.
And Road and Bridge couldn't tell you
Road and
who was
Bridge
working?
would be who?
County
Public
shop.
Works.
Yeah.
Public Works.
Yeah.
Yeah. When they do the road maintenance.
That, just a question.
Is it just road maintenance, or is it a road construction project?
It's a construction project.
The road's closed?
Nope. It's not closed.
Okay.
But it is a construction project. They're definitely widening and raising the roads.
So
Okay.
if you, something else?
No, that was it.
Bob, if you'll make sure you've got her name and phone number, and you can direct them downstairs to contact, or you, or... Okay.
My second question is, I'd like to know when the rural water has been tested last. I guess we've got rural water district 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 of them. And the records that I can find, most of them have not been done since 2014. So I would like to know when they plan to test the water on these rural water districts.
Okay.
Bob's an experienced, and I'm on water board also.
Yeah, so was I. So.
My comment on that is derived from a comment that Mr. Holland made during the quarterly meeting. The GIS department was up here talking about assisting with the Jericho project. And a comment was made about flooding an aquifer in somebody's well. So I would like to know when those are tested, when they will be tested again.
Always tested my own, but that's all right.
We do too.
Yeah, because I had two. I tested well and tested.
We do too.
So,
Rural water
Just
districts.
Rural water districts are a separate entity from the county. They're not part of the county in any way, shape, or
Okay.
form. They're governed by their own set of rules, so
That's
you would
what I
have to
would've said.
contact their board of directors
I
to
can
ask
answer.
that. But they are required by state law to provide samples to the state on a regular basis.
Right,
And I don't know what that schedule is.
And an annual report sent out to their
To
patrons.
their patrons.
Yeah.
And
Actually,
unfortunately, we're not part of Rural Water because that has not been offered to us. We are still on well water. So my concern is the quote of flooding an aquifer.
flooding an aquifer for, right,
Correct.
right.
see, we kept the well water in the house, and I was very apprehensive. We put the rural water district water out for the cows, because I didn't want to be contaminated. Didn't say that. No, they have good water up there.
Understand. but-
Okay,
Yep, that's it.
thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you for coming. Well, sometimes, when you do call a legal entity, they don't respond, or they, so that could be a problem. But anybody else have any comments? Okay, that'll conclude that. Under administrative business, it says we want to start out with an executive session. So, is that still in?
Yes,
Executive
Commissioners,
session.
we are requesting an executive session. I believe I provided Commissioner Smith with the appropriate motion.
Yes,
Are you ready for the motion,
ready for a
Chairman?
motion.
I move that the board recess for a closed executive meeting for the discussion of pending litigation as justified by KSA 75-4319B2 for consultation with legal counsel for the board, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship. And the board would go in for 20 minutes and resume the meeting, we'll just say at 9:25 in the board meeting room. Present in the executive meeting will be with Commissioner Holland, Commissioner Smith,
Yep,
and not Commissioner Klemp.
that's affirmative.
All right. Commissioner Holland, Commissioner Smith, the attorney for the board, Mr. Scott Ryburn, the county administrator, and senior county counselor.
Would you like to second that?
I'll second.
Okay. How do you vote?
Aye.
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 It is now 9:25.
I'd like to make a motion to return to regular session at 9:25. No decisions were made, and it was, discussion was limited to attorney-client privilege.
Want to second that?
Second.
Okay. Been moved and seconded. How do you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll go aye.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to allow legal counsel to proceed as discussed in executive session.
Second.
Second. How do you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Since I don't know what went on, I won't vote on that one.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you still on administrative business?
We are still in administrative business, and we're going to talk about Linwood Community Building. That was the next item.
Okay, well, I had some just announcements.
Okay, we can do that also.
Can we do that now?
Well, yeah, I'm going to do it mine at the end. But
Okay, well, I was either commissioner going to attend the groundbreaking ceremony at the prison? Thursday?
Yes,
You will be there?
I will
Okay.
be there.
All right, and I'll go to the LCDC.
I was going to go to that too.
How you going to do both?
Yeah, I was gonna say, how are you gonna do both?
Well, one's at.
You'll be late? Okay,
No,
all right,
if they can't get it done, the groundbreaking is at 10,
okay.
but then, that is state government, so it may take them 3 or 4 hours to get it done.
All right, well, it's in your district.
Yeah.
You should be there.
But if I don't make it down there, you will be there. so-
Yes, sir.
Very good.
And also, just a reminder about the Meals on Wheels benefit dinner at Friday night at the Riverfront Community Center. Starts at 5:30. Tickets are just about out. You know, last year they sold out and it's a big success. But I've got my ticket purchased this year. I was unable to attend last year, but the community supports that real well, and I think everybody ought to support it.
I agree.
And we went to the CASA breakfast last Thursday, Friday, whatever day that was. That was a good turnout.
Very good.
So, and I believe that's all I have. Thank you, Chairman.
Do you have anything you want to?
For, no.
Weather?
Well, I do have something for administrative.
Okay, go ahead.
You made the comment to the lady out here that Mark would get back to her within a day or a week. But yet I got an email that, and I think Mark got an email because he responded to the email, but it wasn't what I would consider a very good response, Mark. I think you know what I'm talking about probably. I don't know if they want their name mentioned in this, but I'd like to talk to you about it afterwards and see what can be done about this, because I certainly don't want us to get into another lawsuit. I would have thought you could have responded a little more quickly than you have.
Again, I don't know what you're referring to, Bob, so if you'd like to meet with me afterwards, that's fine.
Well, is it all right if we talk afterwards then?
Sure.
And
I'm in my office pretty much every day.
Okay. As I say, the next item was Linwood Community Building.
A few months back, we had a group come in from Linwood and give you a presentation about potential funding requests during the budget process for the Linwood Community Building. At that time, we directed them to go back to the city to make sure the city was even on board with that, because the presentation was that they wanted us to help fund improvements and then the city take it over going forward. We received a letter from the city of Linwood talking about this and discussing that they would be interested in taking it over if funds were made available during the budget process. They just asked that this be presented to the board and that the board acknowledge that we're okay with the process as far as them presenting during the budget. We're not committing to funding yet, but that we acknowledge that they are willing to take that building over if funding is available for it. I have met with Mr. Perry, who made the presentation that evening. They are in the process of getting quotes that they hope to have available here within the next, hopefully before May 1st. He did mention that some of the bids were coming in a little higher than what they had originally anticipated.
Do you have anything you want to say about it?
Well, is it possible that if the county and the city of Linwood do go together on this building, is it possible that the county has a use for some space in that building for like a council on aging site, or?
I did put that out to the departments already to see if anybody had use. The council on aging is working with the group, the development group that currently runs the building to try to set up some times that they may be able to use it for a meal site. But in discussing that with Linda, that would happen until 2019. That'd be the soonest she could get on, because it has to be approved through the state. But there is a potential use for it, and Linda's working. Linda Loeb at the Council on Aging is working.
And would the sheriff's department have any use for an office down there?
I discussed it with the sheriff, and he said at this time they wouldn't have a use for anything down there.
Okay.
Where do we vote? Do we still vote there?
Well, I believe it's still used for that purpose as well, but that's just a couple times a year at the most. So they were hoping to get somebody in there who could be in there on a regular basis to help rent it, to help offset some of their overhead.
The only thing that really bothered me was line 2. The county would provide renovation funding. I sort of changed that because that was not my understanding. And I wrote in there the county would possibly provide some renovation funding.
Mhm.
This sort of sounds like we'll redo the whole building. And there was a potential in there of, yes, if there's some cost sharing, we may come in there, because this organization sort of sounded like they could go out and get some money. So,
I think whatever the board would like to direct as a response to this letter, I'd be happy to have that drafted and sent down to them. If we want to let them know that we will consider it during the budget process, and that we would look favorably upon a cost-sharing approach, I can let them know that. But right now, I think it's pretty preliminary because they don't even have their
Right.
estimates yet.
but it was just the wording, and, you know, this is the year, John probably will put this in now, this is the year of the taxpayer, okay? And so this probably would be secondary, helping on the building.
This would be an outside agency request, similar to what you're going to hear
And
later
we
today.
definitely can look into it.
Mr. Chairman, is there any chance that there would be bonding of of something for this particular?
No, the dollar amount wouldn't reach a level of where there would be bonding. And
Okay.
even if you built a new facility similar in size, I don't think it would probably reach the amount of bonding.
Just a thought.
Okay. Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay.
So I'd like just direction from the board. Would you like me to provide a response to this, letting them know that we will consider it during the budget process?
I think so.
I think so. Is that all right? Okay.
I'll draft a letter and send it.
There you go. Thank you. Appointment, that was the question, of district coordinator.
Coordinator.
Yeah.
Coroner.
Coordinate is that body dead or not? Yeah. What's the body? Former district coroner.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I provided you a briefing report on this on April 12th. In essence, Dr. Eric Mitchell, your current district coroner for the 1st Judicial District, and that's counties of Atchison and Leavenworth, will be retiring effective April 30th. You do need to have a district coroner. I did reach out to 3 entities, Frontier Forensics, the Sheriff of Atchison County, Sheriff of Leavenworth County contacted me. I will tell you all 3 of them have suggested a Dr. Gary McIntosh for that position. Dr. McIntosh has provided a letter of interest in it. Dr. McIntosh has been serving as a deputy district coroner for many, many years. And I think it would be is legally qualified for the position and has a familiarity with your law enforcement agencies and the pathology labs in the immediate vicinity, and that'd be basically Kansas City and Topeka. So I would just ask that you consider this. Again, time is kind of moving since you only meet once a week, and you do need to have a district coroner.
Mr. Chairman?
Rolls up there, so.
Well, I just had a question for David. You reference all these law enforcement agencies, so I take it it's pretty important the coroner, when say there's a homicide, that the coroner makes sure evidence doesn't get tampered, or I guess there's a reason why law enforcement would support.
In certain instances, it is by statute required that a coroner be present, and that is in certain deaths, but also certainly in any homicide crime scene. And it is important that the coroner arrive in a timely manner. Since we have switched to Dr. Eric Mitchell, which was at least 8-9 years ago, I believe, we have not received any complaints from law enforcement agencies about undue delays in having a coroner on the scene and having a coroner who follows the protocols and provides timely reports. And so it's really a continuation of the coroner services that you have right now, and that would be the pathology labs that you're currently using would continue. If you choose Dr. McIntosh, you'd have a district coroner who has been serving as a deputy district coroner, and again, is familiar with the locales and the law enforcement agencies. So that would be the input I'd like to present to you this morning.
Thank you.
I did speak with Under Sheriff Mr. Hurley, and or not Shirley,
Yep.
and he made reference on this gentleman and how they solved a murder case in approximately 1 day because of the coroner's diligence on, and I was very impressed that they could do that in 1 day.
Commissioner Holland, as I stated, I believe there's a good working relationship between both the current district coroner, Dr. Mitchell, and his deputy, or one of his deputies, Dr. Gary McIntosh, to where law enforcement has been provided the necessary services of a coroner. And I believe the appointment of Dr. McIntosh will continue those services.
And you said all three of those entities.
I reached out to 3 entities, and Dr. McIntosh's name came up. I contacted the sheriff of Atchison County, the sheriff of Leavenworth County, made inquiry when he heard that Dr. Mitchell was retiring, and I reached out to Frontier Forensics.
Okay. I thought it was interesting. Somebody told me yesterday, would you verify this?
It's the same person.
No, I don't care about that. That's insignificant. The coroner is the only one that can arrest the sheriff. I thought that was interesting.
I didn't realize that.
I didn't either. That's why I'm having him research that.
Well,
I don't know.
Not that I want to share.
I didn't reach out to anybody on this because I don't
No.
feel like I'm going to work with the county coroner very much. I just take their recommendation.
Yeah.
Well, I just happened to run into
Okay.
Major Shirley, and
Are you ready for
Ready for a motion?
ready for a motion?
Yep.
I'll make a motion for the appointment of Dr. Gary McIntosh as the district coroner for the 1st Judicial District.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. How you vote?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I took the liberty of preparing a board order appointing Dr. McIntosh, if you could sign it. I'll make sure that Dr. McIntosh executes the necessary oath of office.
You need a motion for a board order?
2018-3.
Bob's got it right in front of me.
What number is that, Becky?
3, 2018.
You gonna
3.
make that motion?
I'll make the motion that we board order, we approve board order number 2018-3 for Dr. McIntosh
Be the county coroner.
as county coroner.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded that Dr. McIntosh become the coroner for first district, and aye.
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 Thank you, gentlemen.
Excuse me. Okay, next item is the consent agenda, which includes the approval of the minutes. Anybody have any questions on minutes?
No, sir.
Okay. Next item is on the consent agenda is the agenda for next week. Okay. The only thing I had on there was Tuesday in the morning, of course, we meet in the afternoon at 5:30. In the morning, there was 3 sessions going on, workforce partnership, and I think, Bob, you go to that?
Yes,
Bob goes to all 3 of them.
Bob goes to all
Yeah.
3?
I go to all 3
And
of
I
them.
go to the 11:15 and 12:15.
Very good. And next item was on the, is the check register. Anything on there? All I wanted to present is the fact that, to show you that we have 21,000 go to 147th Street, show you where money goes. Page 2 was 17,000 to Leavenworth County Fair Association. Legal services, 13,000. And we'll leave that out, Bob. And Guidance Center got their 29,000. So, and it ends up for the whole month, for that whole period, $270,870.
Right. But I believe the Fair Association actually lowered their budget last year, or didn't? I think
they
they're
did.
they're pretty frugal.
So their year of the taxpayer was
Yes,
last
sir.
year.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Fair Board is really frugal with their money.
And the next one would be to sign the OCBs, and there are none, thank you, Lord. So I'll accept a motion to do the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. How do you vote, Bob?
Aye.
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 Next item will be the formal board action of case number DEP-18-035, the extension of the County Road 1 moratorium. And we'll have an open hearing on that first. I'll let Jeff give the dissertation, and then we'll open it to the people.
Yes. Good morning, Commissioners. This case was heard on April 10th, and it was tabled because City of Tonganoxie wanted to take this to the City Council meeting, and I received an email this morning saying that they are in agreement with staff recommendation to extend it to until the land use study has been completed.
And what year is that?
There'll be
2030, 2000, where?
no. The land use study will be done within like 6 to 8 months.
6 to 8 months. Okay. So, does staff have anything they want to say on that before I open this up to public hearing?
Well, I think, again, this was originally discussed last week and tabled to this week to give the city an opportunity to respond. Mr. Joseph gave their response already. With the, since the study has begun, I just fully support what their recommendation is, which is to extend it until the end of the County Road 1 study.
Okay. We'll open it to public hearing. Anybody have a positive or negative on the County Road 1 moratorium extension?
Lindsay Blankhardy, 22800 Wood End Road in Tonganoxie. I live within the area of the moratorium. My question is, I'd like to know what exactly was being done for the 3 years leading up to this, because we were getting felt out, basically, on what we wanted. Were we interested in water? Were we interested in roads? What were we interested in? So if there wasn't a land use study being done, then what exactly were you guys fishing for?
Actually, that's what we're trying to do. We hired a consultant to do the land use study, and they have begun the process. and May 2nd is the first public hearing, which you'll be receiving a notice about that very shortly.
But my question is, for 3 years now, you guys have been fishing to the residents in that area of what they want. So, you know, notices going out, are we interested in selling our land? Notices, are we interested in the water, the sewer, those types of things?
I don't think that's anything that came out of this office. I don't know what that is.
Okay. I'd like to know who did that then. I would like to know who has been fishing for 3 years.
Do you have copies of those
residents.
that we could, those requests that we could maybe look to see who sent them to you?
Sure. Sure do.
That'd be interesting.
I think it's been 11 years,
I know it has.
Right.
Absolutely.
May 21st, 2000.
Yeah, this board is the one that's actually doing the land study. It's just been talked about for 11 years and kicked down the road. We're actually doing it. So anything you get now is coming from here.
Okay.
And there will be a meeting, you said May 2nd will be our first meeting, and it's going to be held at the Leavenworth County Fairgrounds, I believe.
When is that going to be published?
Actually, we just did that yesterday, so you will receive a notice in the mail.
Okay.
So, anybody? Mr. Joe Herring, nice to see you today, sir.
Thank you. Joe Herring, Herring Surveying, 315 North 5th Street. I think every year I come up here the last couple of years and speak against the moratorium because the county just didn't do what they were supposed to do. And they held these properties, you know, hostage, I guess, for lack of better terms, over that time. Although they did release those who asked, it still was a process that you had to go through to get released from the moratorium, not knowing if it was going to happen. I guess in this situation, if you're not going to approve the moratorium, I would ask that you cancel the study, because why have the study if you're going to release these properties? So I didn't support the study. I thought the citizens and the property owners of Tonganoxie and the people who own County Route 1 spoke very clearly on what they want in that area and, you know, how to go about County Route 1 without sewer and water in place. But, so that's my concern. If you're going to vote against the county moratorium right now, there's no need for the study. Let the property owners do what they want to do. If we're going to keep the study, I think you should keep the moratorium in place until the study is complete and try to get something done quicker than 6 to 8 months.
That's very logical, Joe. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
Come back again now.
I will.
Anybody else have any comments on the open portion of this? I will close the open portion of the public hearing. How about commissioners?
Nope. I haven't.
I wouldn't want the study to be completed in any time quicker. I think it needs
Right.
to. I think the public needs to have their say. The property owners need to have their say, and that's going to take several meetings. And like I said, I'm hoping that this will evolve into a whole county-wide strategic plan eventually, and we'll get there to where we do have water, sewer for the whole county, and have a plan and get it put in place where we revisit it every year and tweak it a little bit, but we got to get a whole strategic plan for the county.
Well, what bothers me, it says 8 months, 6 to 8 months. Now, you know I'm not gonna be here in 8 months. Doing that on purpose?
No, sir.
I heard him say that.
You heard him say that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I disagree.
Disagree.
I think you will be in that audience in 8 months.
I guarantee you that won't be true.
Well, we
What
will,
you say, you're right. I agree.
I will personally invite you when we
Yeah.
discuss anything to do with the moratorium, being as you were involved in it.
No, thank you. Gone on a long time, but that's why sometimes government becomes dysfunctional, you know, and just
Well, this
We're waiting
is
for somebody else to make the
went
answer.
on way too long. This needed to be done 10 years ago.
Yes. But this is a different group here now. I don't think you were here 10 years ago, were you?
No.
Yeah.
Seemed like that 10 years ago thing, you know, you got 182nd Street was supposed to be done 10 years ago. You got this, you know, 10 years is a magic number
Yeah,
here.
I was here
107th
8 years
Street.
ago.
Yeah, maybe we should change these terms to 10 years, huh?
Okay. Let's see if we can't work on the 6 months rather than the 8 months.
Yes.
Because she mentioned something, and I didn't know that part. Are there a lot of ponds down there
Yes, there are.
where I can go fishing?
I don't know that you want to fish in them anymore.
Oh, okay. I don't eat them, I just like to catch them. So, somebody have a motion they want to do here, or we?
You just need a motion to extend the moratorium on County Road 1?
Yeah, that's all we need.
A motion to approve resolution 28.
Okay, it is a,
I think there's one in the back here, resolution number 2018-4. 10.
2018-10.
Okay.
I'll make the motion, we approve resolution 2018-10 for the extension of the moratorium on County Road 1.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Now, is there any more dissertation? Mr. Herring, how do you vote on that?
Aye.
No, Mr. Herring, how do you vote on that? No comment. How do you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
6 months, right? Guarantee that.
Really putting the pressure on him.
Putting the pressure on it.
Either that or pink slip. Yeah. I'll vote aye.
You got something we've been talking about for 10 years up here, 11 years, and you want to make sure it's done in 6 months?
You better believe it.
I think it will be.
Okay, that takes care of the moratorium. We are now down to presentations and discussions.
We have 2 presentations scheduled today for requests for funding through the budgeted amount that we set aside for historical societies in Leavenworth County. At a previous meeting, gave direction to have May 1st as the final date for requests. So we've put these on as presentations. Once we receive, there are at least one, maybe two more scheduled to come in and do presentations. Once we receive those or have those completed, staff will compile a comparison for all the requests versus the budgeted amount available and bring that back for you for your consideration, probably the second meeting in May. That's what we're looking at right now. So that
Okay.
allows everybody to get in and give their presentations.
And do we want to notify everybody about at budget time to have them come in for the 19 budget and make some request?
Yes.
I think that's probably, as these people, as these groups come in to make their presentations, to let them know that if they want, I don't want to say guaranteed, but if they want to have defined funding for their organization to come in and make an official request, if that's the
Okay.
way the board wants to handle it this year. Last year, they decided to budget a lump sum and allow the request to come in.
Right.
And this, I think probably because we only had one request last year. So this year, it's however you want to handle it. But certainly, that'd be okay to let them know to come in as part of the budget.
There's 2 areas that people need to be remembering. One's through the alcohol fund. There's some kind of participation where you can get funds. County sets aside, last year was what, 50,000?
Aye.
Yeah.
Cities set aside any funds?
I did send a request out last year to ask some of that. The city of Leavenworth has their block grant funding where people come in and make requests through that. They set aside a certain amount of money, and then throughout, I think they have a, kind of like our special alcohol tax, they have a committee that solicits proposals, and then they make awards through that. The rest of the cities handle it via budget. City of Basehor has a advisory council that they set aside a certain amount of money for outside agency requests, and then the groups come in and make presentations to that group to ask for funding. And those were the responses that I received that have specific money set aside. The other two cities, I believe, listen to individual requests throughout the year and decide whether they have funding.
When you say block grant funds for the city of Leavenworth, what does that mean?
Well, I think it's the way they have it set up is they set aside a pool of money, and then they have a award process where they come in and make requests. Any outside agency wants to make requests, but I'm not sure the process itself because I've not participated in it.
I was just wondering if that's not where you can apply for funds to do a refacing of your building, and I don't know if tax exempt people qualify for that. It doesn't matter. It's not for our discussion. But I think everybody needs to approach their cities to set aside something, to be a participant rather than just the county automatically, because you know, each city has at least one entity that they're wanting to have funds for, and at least the county recognizes that, and I think the city should.
So are you suggesting we come up with a policy that would involve like the city, county, and the agency asking for the money for matching stuff?
And it wouldn't hurt to have matching funds from the entities, would it?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If all three got together,
Mm-hmm. Yep,
maybe that's something we need to just put in place at budget
at budget time, yep.
for 19.
And we need to get a letter out to the cities and to all the entities saying, at least for 2019, if Bob is in agreement with that, that's what the procedure will be.
Okay.
Okay. So the Carroll Mansion is wanting, and of course you say you've got one or two more coming in, so we probably ought to wait for one or two more to come in.
I think that that'd be May 9th, I think, is our second meeting in May.
Yeah.
The 9th or the 8th.
Yeah.
Anyways, the second meeting in May, we'll have it prepared for you to, all the requests on one sheet so you can review and decide what level of funding may be available.
But is there anybody here from the Carroll Mansion? Well, it'd be nice to hear from them while they're here. So, but
Yeah, that's why they're on today for presentation, but for actual awarding of any funding, we'll hold off until the second meeting in May if the board's okay with that.
because after we listened to them, there's only $511 left to give to the next organization, which would be Leavenworth Historical Museum Association. So the other two wouldn't have any funds. So, yes, ma'am.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for putting us on the agenda again. I'm Mary Ann Brown. I represent the Leavenworth County Historical Society at the Carroll Mansion. Last year, we did come to request to be inserted into your budget at a level of $50,000, and that's when it occurred that you decided that it would be offered to all museums and historical societies in the county. We knew that our deferred maintenance was going to be a higher figure because it has been deferred. And we needed to collect bids on the projects that we had identified that were priority on this list, and to search for alternative solutions, and also to try to get some state grant funding for these projects. So I had submitted a list We were not successful in getting the grant to replace our porches, which was about a $70,000 grant. In the past, the state has paid for replacement of our wooden porches. They wouldn't allow any other materials, but given the fact that wood is not what it used to be, they have approved a Trex type material, which of course is more expensive than wood, but we wouldn't be putting in a grant periodically to replace the porches. However, they had $3 to $4 million in requests across the state, and they only had $800,000 to give out. So we were not successful in getting that grant for the second time. We had, like I said, we've been trying to identify our priorities at the museum. We have been able to replace a plumbing line that has been needed for about 6 years. We got a matching amount of money donated by a society member. We have done other small repairs on our own, but these are all more minor maintenance at the museum that fit into our budget. And so the items that we are requesting funding for today are what we have identified as our priorities. The list, I can go through the list if you want. Since we couldn't replace the whole porch, the piece of porch that does need to be replaced, where a volunteer stepped through the porch board, and then we had to tear up in order to install our plumbing line, we decided that that needed to be replaced because it does pose a hazard to our visitors who go around the side of the museum back to our Victorian urban heirloom gardens. We also have a mold issue on one of our ceilings that we need to replace the flashing on the roof above it, and then replace the alcove materials. We have a back door that needs to be replaced for the door and the surround, because when it gets stuck, we can't get out. The front door also needs a protective application to preserve it. And then we also have artifact preservation pieces that need to be done. Our front concrete sidewalk is a safety issue now for our visitors. It needs to be replaced. And a portion of the western fascia of the house is rotted and needs to be replaced. Plus, we have a few electrical issues. We had to call out our electrician on January the 1st because we lost heat due to an electrical problem. So at this time, we request a little over $40,000, about $47,489. These are the bids that we have received. A couple of them we had to estimate because the bids have come in slower. If you question any of our items on our list, I'd like to invite each and every one of you to come to the museum, and we'd be happy to give you a tour and show you some of these things that need to be repaired. At this time, I'd also like to request that you consider reinserting us into the budget every year so that we can maintain the economy of our operations and ensure the safety of our museum contents, our historical artifacts and collections, as well as an eye for public safety. We've been able to fix minor things over the past 10 years, but the maintenance that is deferred now has come due. So I appreciate your time, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them.
Is this sort of your priority list, though, as you go down? The back porch is
Back porch is number 1.
And mold would be number 2.
And the sidewalk, I think, too, because that's how our visitors get into the museum. We don't need them falling down trying to get there. and electrical.
I was gonna say electrical's pretty important. You don't want
In
the,
today's society, electric is not important, mold is. There's be somebody that says, oh my God, the
well,
world's.
if a place burns down, you don't gotta worry about the mold.
Yeah, but people coming and breathing and they're dying from the mold.
Yeah.
So. Do you have any questions of the young lady?
No, I just, the electricals was a concern,
Okay.
I think. Electrical, but you've made some repairs, but you have
We've
some
made
more.
some repairs, yes, but it is something that has to be on our radar.
It's on your punch list then. Okay.
And I've already started our next list for after this. And it's because we haven't been able to fix some of these things and pay attention to some of these issues because of lack of funds to fix them. And I'd hate to see them not funded because they would become even more deferred.
Have you considered approaching the city?
We went to the city last year as well when we came to you, and you asked me the same question. And we went to the city, and as a consequence, they set up the tourism grant, and which is $2,000 available twice a year. So we have applied every single time that that's been offered. We received for 2017 a full $4,000 for promotion of the museum. And this year we asked for a sign, a new sign to better identify us so that we, in hopes to increase our visibility and our income. And we were awarded $4,500 for a sign.
Right.
And so we felt that was pretty good considering they were only looking at a $2,000 grant.
You know,
So,
it's hard to get 45 out of 2,000 in it.
right, but we got
You got it.
4,500.
That's good. Yeah, that's good.
So if that would help us increase our income, then
Right.
we will try every single time for that grant.
Yeah, the visitor bureau,
Right.
that's, it needs, well, they run the city.
Oh, and that grant is restricted just for tourism.
Yes.
And so we just, whatever things that we feel we need, like brochures or advertising of our Vintage Homes Tour, that's one of our big
Right.
fundraisers. We have to tailor it specifically to that. It's anything else, they're not going to look at.
You know what you need on your board? A person that has served the city well, that would know the approach of how to get them to build something in.
Mhm. We have such a person now
Right.
on our board.
I was
Lisa
not aware
Binkley.
of that, but that's all right. You know, you're talking about, they're getting $50 million on their sales tax. Surely out of 50 million, you can come up with something equivalent to what we do.
And I appreciate your efforts in going to them as well on our behalf.
Well, I guess we could, you know, send a letter to all the cities, asking them to build into the program, because we are the oldest city in the territory. Leavenworth is. Now, I know Lansing and Bayshore don't qualify for Leavenworth. Could have been 57, but that's a different story. And we're the oldest city in the state. So we and offshoots of us, Bayshore, Lansing, Linwood, Tonganoxie, and Easton, are part of really the Leavenworth community.
Yes.
So, okay, we'll look at this in the next at the next meeting, and you know, we'll come up with what we think is a priority and see how we can disperse the funds.
If you have any other further questions, please don't hesitate to call us. We'd be happy to answer them.
And get a hold of that person to have them approach the city to build something in the next year's budget.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, you mentioned earlier about the alcohol fund. None of this would qualify for that.
Yes, it does. If you look at it, certain museums have things for the kids that it would qualify. It does.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, it ain't gonna qualify to put a porch on, but it's gonna qualify them, if you really look at, you know, it's divided in two areas, that alcohol fund.
Okay, I guess I need a better explanation on what qualifies, because I didn't think it did.
It's the term of the day, is what it is.
Okay,
All
right, well,
the children's down there on Delaware, what's it called, the Yak?
okay,
You could say, well, there's nothing there, but they can word their grants that it does qualify in some way. How about the community, the Y?
mm-hmm.
What do they have? Well, it's something for the kids. The Parker.
So if churches have something for kids, they would qualify to apply for grant for alcohol money?
Brought it up. And it depends on the guys sitting up here, or the gals and guys, or the gals.
Okay, well,
I don't think God would, but he wants you to work yourself.
well, I understand that.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, if it's tied to just, I guess, youth activities, which I think is important, don't get me wrong, but I mean, I just didn't think that this would qualify.
Well, our county counselor.
I guess we can always ask.
He's not, has done anything to do, I guess. He could get that answer. Dealing in depth of everybody's brain who's going to be sitting up here, and Pat's brain, what's going to qualify for the alcohol funds. Or we could get have a distribution of that law to us, and we can sit there and interpret it ourselves.
I think without a specific request, it'd be kind of hard to acknowledge what would or wouldn't be, because it is very,
You gotta have a specific
Right.
request.
it's very restricted on how you can spend those
Yeah.
funds.
And it's restricted. And you could ask the clerk. I mean, the clerk has that fund. I mean, she monitors that fund. So if you have a specific request, then you can ask the clerk if that warrants that money going to them.
Maybe we should have a copy of the statute ourselves.
Wouldn't hurt.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna have kids going to some kind of a function in there, and you've got mold,
I wouldn't be for it.
yeah.
So,
Well, like I said, you just mentioned the fund, and I just didn't think any of this qualified.
Right.
so if we can get staff to get us a copy of the statute, and we can sit down and read it, and we'll have 3 interpretations up here, and
I guess it's how you interpret it.
Well, I
It
think
could be interpreted two different ways.
I think myself and you agree what the fund's actually for.
Right.
But I know there's money there, and if, like you said, if there's
You know, there's quite a bit.
youth programs and stuff that go on here, but it probably wouldn't be, it would fund the programs, but it wouldn't fund any building maintenance.
well, there's always funds that, that go to the schools.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
I mean.
We know that's for that,
Right,
but
that's why.
there are other things that somebody can say, well, I don't really know. They're still good programs.
Absolutely.
But let's further that, not only copy of the law, but for the last 2 years where the funds have gone. Can we do that? Or 3. 3 is the magic for going back in history, and 10 is for doing road projects and stuff. So if we can go back.
Now you're stretching.
I think we might already have that, because I believe you asked for that
And
same
that's stretched out
information
there
when
so
the
far.
Special Alcohol Committee came in and presented their
Right.
proposals. I think we provided that same information then.
But if we could have it for the last 3 years, because it has varied. Could we do that? Or-
I'll ask the clerk for that information.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you. So we have one other applicant, and that's for the First City Museum lighting and displays. So, staff have anything they want to say on that, or we'll just have the gentleman come up and introduce himself?
I have none.
Okay.
Morning, gentlemen. My name is Carl DeReischer. I'm the Vice President of the Leavenworth Historical Museum Association. I'm speaking today about the application for the First City Museum grant. In specific, all the projects that we want to get done there at the First City Museum totals $41,000 plus dollars. Our projected start date is 1 May, but obviously if decisions won't be made until after that date, it'll be postponed until we get a decision and an allocation, if any, of how much funds are going to be provided. As you may see in the application, we are creating a new room, adding a mural, and primarily focusing on preserving the materials and artifacts that we have. And in order to do that, we need to change the lighting system. One, the lighting is not sufficient for a museum of our size with the displays we have. And two, the current type of lighting is not conducive to long-term preservation of the artifacts and materials that we have. So that is our primary focus in getting funding to replace the lighting. But as is noted on the next to last page and last page, we also have a doorway issue for the new children's area we're putting into the museum. It's more on the change to conform with the people who may have disabilities, as is required by federal law, to make sure that we have facilities that are accessible to everyone. So that is a second priority, lighting being first, and the doorway change that we need to make. And then obviously the tile and doors and walls that we are creating to segregate and amplify certain displays within the museum. Overall, we have participated with the city in getting funds. They have provided certain things over time when we had to replace some windows, brick them up to make the museum more accessible to things that we want to do within the facility, because this was an old grocery store, Wayminer's store, so we've done a lot of renovation to the building itself to make it into more of a museum. We have funded a lot of things ourselves, either through fundraising activities or through donations by members or grants from various entities within the county, and actually all around. One grant one year we got from Northrop Grumman when they were offering grants to entities that had educational activities, which we attempt to do. That money, as has been noted, is out there, but it's not necessarily unlimited nor readily available. You get into a pool, you request, and you may get some, you may not get some. That's why we are presenting our application to you today for the funding that we're specifically identifying. Subject to your questions, that concludes my presentation.
Bob?
Number 16, it says program dates.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a question I was going to ask anyway, but then reading down through here, it says the museum is open on a regular basis the entire year.
Mm-hmm.
When you say regular basis,
Every Thursday, the museum has volunteers there. We're not like the Carousel Museum, which has an abundance of volunteers. We have a very limited pool. Our regular scheduled attendance, which is available on our website, is every Thursday, but we open based on request of someone, especially, let's say, the Leavenworth Tourist Board activities. If they say we have a tour coming in, can your facility be open? We open it for that specific period, but we don't have, we have it open once a week. We would like to do more. We will do more as soon as we get all the things done inside, because you can't have a lot of people moving around while we're laying tile or doing other work.
Well, the reason I asked that is I was down there several times and it never was open, and so.
Come Thursday, especially Thursday afternoon, and we have some ladies that would be happy to take you around, show you what we have and what we're doing.
Okay.
Other questions?
Others? Oh, thank you for coming, Carl. Appreciate that. Okay. Is there anything else that you would like to bring up? Because I have basically one item.
Something else I wanted to bring up, but let me see.
Well, why don't we have Doug go ahead while you look?
Okay.
I've already been just
Yours
going to
first.
plug for the Council on Aging again to make sure everybody gets their tickets for their dinner Friday
You
night.
could have left then, couldn't you?
Well, he could have bought all three of us a ticket.
But
You know, I guess I could have, I'm
That's the
sorry.
south end of the county, that's the way they function down
I
there. You know,
guess.
what's in it for
I
me?
guess.
My only question is, and John, you don't need to put that in here, okay? Just put in the paper, this is the year of the taxpayer.
How about I just buy your meals and they come deliver them to your house?
Well, that's all right.
Any Meals on Wheels?
Yeah.
Well, it's getting close.
Yeah, I guess he's referring to our age,
Our maturity.
maturity.
Yeah.
You said buy your, you know, it's.
I was looking over the administrator's weekly report, and I appreciate that report.
It's a good report.
Yes. There's two things that I have marked. One is page and page. There's no numbers. Did I say that?
You did say that.
Yeah. Well, it has to do with Public Works. There's a whole bunch of roads there that says easement, 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 and then road improvement projects, relocation. So there's 2 pages in a row, and I'm just wondering if any of those can be removed by the new program that we're looking at doing. So, but that's something for you.
I don't believe so. I believe they had to hide this traffic count. That's where they came from.
Yeah, but that's something that staff can look into,
Mm-hmm.
and I appreciate it.
No, I recognize them as a high traffic
Yeah.
count.
But temporarily on the high traffic. you can
Well,
still-
and there's a couple of them roads had some pretty steep hills and some curves too.
Yeah, but you can still go ahead and,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, I agree. I want to get as many roads as we can with the
if
money
we're gonna
we
spend
have.
$750,000 on one road, but if staff would look into that, and under EMS, brings up a subject that, and it had in here figures, April 1 through 12, total calls with patient, and it was 381 calls in that period, 309 calls with patient, and total transport, it was 255. Well, that comes out at 21.25 calls a day. And it always brings up the question, how can you do a quarter of a call? But how can we keep up with this? Because we can't do it on sales tax. How can the system come up with all the requests? I've had a request out here and a lady on Gilman Road, probably one of the most important roads, just because it's in my district, doesn't mean it's. Because all of the people going up and down that road.
One of the few gravel roads you have?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like to get rid of all of them, that way I don't have those people calling me. But
Okay.
the transfer station's out there,
And it's on asphalt.
yeah. But they don't all come that direction. They can come down the back direction.
If they're coming from Wyandotte County, yeah.
There's mini warehousing there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there is. That's a developed
There's
area.
an industrial park.
Mhm.
I don't know, have they extended the asphalt to there? Don't think so.
No, no, it quits
So-
right there.
She brings up, the lady brought up that point, and I thought it was good. But I had another one from the south end that brought up the fact that she's on a gravel road, and the dust is just prohibitive. And there's a, see, when you only have 8 months left, you can make this comment. You moved out there, it was a gravel road. Live with a gravel road. You know? Nobody that's wanting to, I'm not picking on you, okay?
No, yeah, you are.
No,
That's fine, but
I sort of like you, Doug.
on your Gilman Road, that would be a good one to approach the city of Lansing for a cost share.
Sure would. See the way the brain functions, that's good, I like that. And Lansing's gonna say, yeah, we're only getting $30 million, and we got sewer problems, we got 147th Street, we got 4H Road.
Well, I know, but if we're gonna respect the city's 3-mile radius,
Yeah.
I think there should be some cost share within that 3-mile
That would be
radius.
nice,
I agree.
And we could get more roads done.
yeah. Get more roads done.
And I don't, you know, the comment you just made, when you moved out there, you said it was a gravel road. You need to live with that gravel road. I just got an email on my computer, and it was a gentleman that was in here last week. And I don't know why he didn't get up and speak. Maybe he's shy. But that's what he said on his email. He says, I don't want to be county to be dust-free. He says, I moved out in the country because I wanted to live on a gravel road. And he says, I still want to live on a gravel road. I don't want to be dust-free. I don't want to live like Johnson County or Wyandotte County.
And that opportunity should be, the program that we're looking at, that should be into that program.
Exactly.
Now, if you got 10 people there and 9 say they want a hard surface road, then one individual has a problem.
Right.
So, no, I agree with that. You know, I went so far, as I said before, I wanted to take over my half mile. And they wouldn't let me do it. So I went a little further. Now you can take over by chip and sealing and doing other things, so.
Well, I took over in front of my
Yeah.
farm.
But I just wonder, you know, and that's what people need to be studying, how long can we keep going of taxing? Where does it cease? Well, the sheriff, he needs more men. I'm having that, not because it's sheriff, I'm having that looked at. How are we changing? Do we need, you know, the sheriff out on the farm would have been no benefit to me. After the fact, the coroner would probably been better, but it's just people need, and I don't think we as people want to do that. Look at how much we can tax and how long it can go. Somewhere it has to cease. You can't have like in the old days, a bar and a church on opposite corners in every street. You can't have an EMS sitting there. There's going to be a time delay. You can't have a fire truck. But it's just something I wanted to mention that, because in January through April, it was 3,500 calls. That's 35 a day. Calls with patient, 2973, and total transports, 2491. And I don't know how many ambulances we have now, but somewhere, somebody will be in here. But this is safety. You have to have, and God bless Mrs. Bush. She cut her line, okay? She's going to die peacefully. And that's what sometimes you have to live with. So, anything else? Anything?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think that this board and the department heads and the county administrator are always looking at efficiencies.
Right.
I mean, the problem was solved with the pay on that. They was able to do it with the monies they had. I think the county administrators consolidated some departments. I mean, we're always looking for efficiencies.
Yeah.
We're not just sitting here just saying, hey, it's going to continue to get out of hand.
But we're looking for efficiencies.
And I think our department heads are too.
Well, I've seen some pay raises, and the worker bees didn't get any pay increase.
Right.
Now, that's not the way the system works.
No.
You better take care of your worker bees,
But-
because
And I think the EMS director and the county administrator addressed that without raising taxes.
I'm talking about other,
Well, but I'm just saying
Yeah.
that it can be done.
it can be done, but it
And
hasn't been being done. And we've worked with the administrator the first time. First time in the history of Leavenworth County, we're having an administrator that knows and understands that it takes two of us to tell them what to do. In the past, it hadn't been that way.
right.
So we've resolved that. He knows it takes two of us to dance, to assign him a task. And I think it's worked very good, and it should have been working that way in the past. And why it wasn't, it's not a big deal. The three of us have corrected it.
Right.
That's good.
That's what I said. This board realizes what the problems are, and we're seeking solutions.
And it's,
And we get it from the department heads and the county administrator.
last big solution will be the one that you guys went into executive session. We can get that taken care of. How it goes, don't know, don't care. Only got 8 months. So, anything else?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman. Are you ready for a motion to adjourn?
I'll handle a motion.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
We are adjourned.
You didn't- you forgot to bring up